50 years have passed since one of the most important movie car chase films to have ever graced the big screen was first released onto the public. To this day, there are those that have theorized and analyzed what the film and story is all about, as it has left a mark on the industry of car chases, perhaps more so than any other film before or since. It has been referenced more and more as years go on in other films, and its iconic choice of vehicle in the 1970 Dodge Challenger RT, optioned in Alpine White, has an almost ghost-like presence whenever it is presented on screen. This 1971 car chase drama may in fact be seen as the standard to which all car-based movies are compared to now, as it makes those who are fans ask the question, is Vanishing Point the greatest car chase movie ever produced in the history of cinema? In the late 1950s, as the post-World War II generation that would later be named as the baby boomers were reaching an age of driving and buying cars, and with the rejuvenation of the post-war economy, the American automotive market wanted to capitalize on this new generation of car buyers. Seeing just how much the driving culture was growing with the modifications of street cars and the cruising scene in the late 50s and early 60s, it was decided that the best way to capture this youth market would be to make vehicles aimed at this new generation's want for speed and power. Come April of 1964, a car was released which changed automotive history forever. Being the brainchild of American automobile executive Lee Iacocca, Ford had produced the all-time top-selling car in history in the 1965 Mustang, which took its name from a 1962 concept car powered by a V4 made by Ford that was initially built for racing. Hoping to sell 100,000 units, the Mustang sold more than 680,000 units upon its first year of release alone. This mid-size car was aimed more towards those who wanted sport styling and affordability, combined with the idea of a high-performance engine with an agile, lightweight body. It was this success that led to a dash for competitors to rush out and pick up on this phenomenon, soon after producing some of the most fondly remembered and revered cars to come out of the US automotive market. With Chevrolet producing the Camaro, Pontiac the Firebird, Plymouth the famous Hemi Cuda, AMC the Javelin, this focus on a long-hooded and short-end body would become known as the pony car era. It would be the 1970 Dodge Challenger which would become the focus of a film that would be released a year later that would cement its place in movie history and give it a wider international appeal greater than a number of its competitors. Taking the story back further than the car's production, the origins of the Dodge Challenger go all the way to 1959, when the name was partially given to the then two-door sedan Coronet in the form of the Silver Challenger. It was an upgraded package version of the Coronet that was soon shelved, however. Wanting to challenge the 1968 Mercury Cougar, which was the slightly bigger brother to the Ford Mustang, Chrysler brought in car designer Carl Cameron to design the new body, just as he had done originally designing the 1966 Charger. With their newly designed E-body ready, Dodge decided to bring back the Challenger name once more and apply it to their sleek and curvy creation. Bringing out the then similarly designed other E-body Plymouth Barracuda in 1970, both it and the 1970 Challenger fully embraced the newly advertised Coke bottle design for the new decade. The Dodge Challenger was the higher-end version with more extras on offer and a slightly longer wheelbase over its Cuda cousin. Still using the Chrysler unibody design, the Challenger was the next step into aerodynamic car styling that would set it apart from its big brother Charger and bridging the gap from the 1960s into the 70s. Wanting to beat the competition, Chrysler went all out, offering a large variety of options to their new bodies for 1970. With the Dodge Challenger, 9 different engines were on offer from Chrysler, ranging from 2 slant 6s and 7 V8s that included a 318, a 340 6-pack, a 383 Magnum, the 440 Magnum, the 440 6-pack, and the legendary 426 Hemi V8.
This is the new Dodge Challenger RT. It's not a racer.
Careful, boy. I'll book you for as a law officer.
If you can handle the way people react to your 1970 Dodge Challenger, you could be Dodge material.
Perhaps seen as the last gasp of the muscle car era of the 60s, The release of the 1970 Dodge Challenger and its rivals marked the beginning of the end, with the impending panic of what would be seen as the US oil crisis looming over the horizon. Though not wanting to give up without a fight, car manufacturers wanted to keep the dream of power and speed alive as long as they could in the States. With the inclusion of the 426 Hemi V8 engine in its option package for the Chrysler-based cars starting that year, a street legend was born where an engine that was once developed for drag racing was now available to the public. Listed to have an output of 425 horsepower in the books, though these numbers were said to be a lowering of the facts from what is thought to have actually been closer to 500 horsepower to appease the ever-increasing pressure from the insurance companies and the government. The 426 Hemi would produce a top speed of around 140 miles per hour and could do the quarter mile in just 13.6 seconds. In the film itself, it was the classic Chrysler 440 V8 Magnum with 375 horsepower that was given the choice to be used for the Challenger, as no Hemis were obtained and most cars were equipped with a Chrysler 440 Big Block, as was a 383 automatic as part of the lineup as well. Available in the RT package, that had a sticker price in the mid $3,000 range back in 1970. The Dodge Challenger was by no means a cheap production car, yet with its many inclusions on offer, such as a rally pack dash, 4-speed manual transmission with its iconic Hurst pistol grip shifter, and a truck-strength Dana 60 rear end with a 411 gear ratio. The Challenger was the car that allowed its owner a variety of uniqueness, tailored in its many colour options, from Plum Crazy, Go Mango, Hemi Orange, Top Banana, Panther Pink, and Green Go to name a few. Opting for an Alpine White as the car of choice, the 1970 Dodge Challenger would be selected for the 1971 car chase feature Vanishing Point, as per the request of pre-Jaws fame 20th Century Fox president at the time Richard Zanuck, who had a fondness towards the car and its connection to the youth market. Written by Cuban writer Guillermo Cabrera Infante, Vanishing Point would gain the interest of director Richard C. Sarafian, who had been a veteran director of popular past TV shows in Hollywood, who had passed on directing the Robert Redford Gene Hackman 1969 film Downhill Racer, and had decided he wanted to take on this project instead. With a starting budget of $1.3 million US, Vanishing Point was taken on the basis that it was initially to be a 60-day production shoot that would later be cut to 38 days, and its budget would eventually go over by $80,000. Originally wanting to cast Gene Hackman in the lead role, the then lesser-known TV actor Barry Newman was chosen to play the part of the character known simply as Kowalski, who throughout the film, though part of his story is seen through flashbacks, is never really fully developed, as he remains an almost mystery to even the police who are hunting him down. In a part that had been wonderfully played by the then newcomer, who had made a greater impact a few years later in the Mel Brooks hit Blazing Saddles, Cleavon Little was cast as Kowalski's spiritual guide in the form of radio DJ Super Soul.
It was based on a character called Ratman Jack. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of him. It's the old Ratman coming to you from station whatever it is, 60,000 kilowatts of soul power, baby. Coming
across an array of colourful characters along the way, in the form of an old prospector played by Dean Jagger, and an overzealous driver in a 1966 Jaguar XKE 4.2 Roadster, played by stunt performer Joe Brooks, who rolled the car in spectacular fashion. The other memorable inclusion into the film was that of the naked motorcycle rider, played by Gilda Texter, who was the girlfriend of actor Paul Koslow, who was also featured in the film. With cast in place, the producers brought in stunt legend Kerry Lofton to perform behind the wheel of a number of these cars, including the lead Challenger, and to bring the amazing chases and crashes to life, some of which were not scripted, but were left in due to the tight budget and the end result which brought a greater realism to the film. With the journey intended to take place over the span of 2 days for Kowalski, starting from Colorado and ending in San Francisco, one scene that was at the time only including the UK release of Vanishing Point had Kowalski pick up a mysterious hitchhiker in the middle of the night, played by English actress Charlotte Rampling. This scene had been suggested that Rampling's character dressed in black was the representation of death, and in this moment, where throughout the film, Kowalski was seen turning down the offer of weed, he finally accepts the offer from the lady in black, who tells him that she has been waiting for him for a long time. The theme of colours had been brought up that just as the lady in black represents death, so too must the white Challenger, driven by our hero, represent the idea of the pale horse as mentioned in Revelations. Though the director has said since that white for the Dodge was chosen as it was a colour that separated from the desolate background of the American landscape and for no biblical reason. After spending the night together and Kowalski waking up alone, it is suggested that it is a direct result from this encounter that leads to what would ultimately be Kowalski's death, as his time lost had given the authorities the opportunity to set up what would be the end of the chase. Being cut without the director's knowledge, this scene was entirely removed, as it was seen as the only supernatural element in the story and film that was grounded in reality up to this point, and was seen as a distraction from the ending that was soon to take place. For the climax, which was to see the Challenger and Kowalski crash into 2 D8 Caterpillar dozers, the scene was set up in a small town called Cisco, which was empty due to railroad construction. as it was a shot that only one take was going to be filmed as time was catching up to the crew to finish the project. 5 cameras were set up to film the climactic crash. It was this ending that had caused a bit of an issue between the director and the producer. When the original idea had been planned, director Richard C. Sarafian saw the moment as a crack in the fence situation, where Kowalski was going to break through to head to the other side, as it were.
There was a different ending, other than a man driving a bulldozer and dying. The concept that he had is that he went right through it onto another level. There was a man who was into the molecule of speed.
Not wanting to destroy the last of the complete functional Challengers, a 1967 white Chevrolet Camaro was obtained to stand in for the Dodge Challenger to perform the crash. In order to achieve this, it has been said that the Camaro was attached to a long cable and towed by the last surviving Challenger, which pulled the car up to speed and released it before the moment of impact. When filming was to commence, Sarafian wanted to see the car drive in at full speed and fly into the air after impact and explode. This was not to be, however, as the Camaro instead fused in place with the dozers, which did not give any ground whatsoever from the collision. The scenes of the aftermath is that of the fire department and crew putting out what was left of the burning wreck, and was put in as a last-minute decision as the credits rolled. Envisioning the scene to be shown in silence, it was originally intended to have Super Soul be the last voice heard, and in praise of Kowalski's decision, only saying the word,
Yeah!
Name, Kowalski. Occupation, driver. Transporting a supercharged Dodge Challenger from Denver to San Francisco.
Released on January 15, 1971 to a limited screening, Vanishing Point would not be properly released to the wider public till March 13 later that year, where it was met with unfavourable reviews from American audience, who at the time were not sure what the overall story of the film was about or its message. It would not be until August that same year, when released in the UK at the Leicester Square Cinema, where the film found its acceptance and was embraced by the English audience, did the director and producer finally see their work appreciated. It was as a result of its overseas success did Vanishing Point pick up better attention and a second chance for the American market, and gain greater traction at cinemas and drive-ins. The film would go on to be shown in double billings that year, with another car chase classic, The French Connection. Grossing $12.4 million worldwide on its $1.3 million budget, Vanishing Point was a modest success at the box office. No follow-up was ever made, and the film would slowly begin to fade from mainstream view and would be seen by non-fans as just another 70s movie that vanished just as quickly as it arrived. In 1997, a made-for-TV remake starring a then still lesser-known Viggo Mortensen was released. Opting for a PG-13 rating, a number of the subject matters of the original film depicted were toned down or changed, and despite a return of the white 1970 Challenger, this version would fade into obscurity and almost be completely forgotten soon after. It would not be until Quentin Tarantino's 2007 homage to the car chases of the 70s in Death Proof, and his referral to the 1971 classic film and the return of the white Challenger once more did Vanishing Point again fall under the public spotlight. With the help of social media and the Challenger itself becoming a favourable collectible among car enthusiasts, fetching prices which could sell north of $250,000 depending on model type, Vanishing Point has gained more respect over the years and is now seen as a film newer generations of car and movie lovers have come to appreciate, and kept its legacy alive and well over the past half-century. As for the car itself, along with a number of other American muscle cars of the time released at the midway point of the 1960s and early 70s, the 1970 Dodge Challenger has since become an almost legend on its own. As mentioned, a pristine example can garner a large amount of money, and its value continues to grow with each year, as with a lot of Detroit muscle to come from that era, given their susceptibility to rust and deterioration, along with abuse given to them due to their high horsepower performance and the youth market of the time who would push these cars to the limit on the street. Of the 8 Challengers obtained by the production according to the director, towards the end of filming, only one was said to have made it through undamaged, and even then it was stolen by a crew member who was said to have been a hooker named Misty, and was tracked down by the state police, who eventually found both her and the car, as only the car made its way back to the production. With the film completed, all cars were returned to Chrysler and were said to have been destroyed due to their damage, and it has been said that their affiliation with Vanishing Point, being seen as a story of a drug-using criminal evading police on a state-to-state chase, led to Chrysler demolishing its ties to the film. Although none of this has been fully confirmed, what has been agreed upon is that none of the either 8 or 5 cars from the 1971 film, according to different sources, survived after production ended. Despite it being the forgotten made-for-TV version, the one aspect of the 1997 remake of Vanishing Point that came out that has made it remain more relevant, it is that it's the only version of the story to have had surviving Challengers make it through production. Unlike its original predecessor, these cars are now in the hands of private owners who had been part of the film crew and who had restored and preserved what cars did survive. Because of its stock usage without the need of any special modifications, the Alpine White 1970 440 Magnum Dodge Challenger is now one of the most sought after next to the famed Hemi engine, as many collectors and fans of the film covet this model option because of its affiliation with Vanishing Point. It is no surprise then that the Challenger now makes its way even into video games, such as Driver San Francisco, along with an appearance including clips from the film in the music video for the band Audioslave and their song Show Me How to Live, along with cameos in other films, and is even popular among model car collectors, making it a must-have on any shelf, and like its life-size version, is a welcome addition to have for any movie car aficionado. "50 years have come and gone. 50 years where the impact of Vanishing Point has grown and left behind a legacy and an image of a white ghost-like car and a driver whose full motivation still remains a mystery to this day. There are those who cite Vanishing Point as the moment car chases in movies changed forever, and those who suggest that perhaps this 1971 classic is the greatest car chase movie ever to be put on celluloid, to which it raises the question as to why such a film shot and released half a century ago, and on such a low budget and with an isolated story, is still so revered even to this day. There have been car chases in movies that are technically more superior, or automatically come to mind first when the discussion comes up about which one is the best. Though few have focused solely on what is a film about one long car chase across the American landscape, in a journey that has no end, and whose lead character within the story remains a mystery, and the importance in him delivering the car no matter what. With the help of pop culture and other movie references, and fan service like the one mentioned by Quentin Tarantino, the Alpine White Dodge Challenger and Kowalski's memory still remain to this day among movie and car fans, who either hold a fondness to the story and character after all these decades, or those who have discovered the film for the first time in recent years through this fan service. The question must then be asked, what is it that has allowed this picture, directed and released half a century ago, to still remain relevant even to this day? Vanishing Point may in fact indeed be the perfect car chase movie of all time, in that it has no real rhyme or reason to its plot, other than to tell the story of a man in a car that only exists in its world depicted to have but one purpose, and that is to get to where they are going come hell or high water, or whatever the price may be, and take the leap from fiction to legend, and turn a stock white 1970 Dodge Challenger into a car chase movie icon.